How you doing, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Isaac Hayes Show. So glad to have you here as we go ahead and talk about life and talk about liberty, and we talk about the pursuit of happiness, and we show you, the audience in the world, that Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good week wherever you're located. I know the Democrat Party is not having a good week. They have not been having several good weeks, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I want to make an announcement first. Miss Katherine Makinney will be joining us. She was on my my Rumble live show, and she is part of American POWs. She's going to come and break down January 6th and the weaponization of the Justice Department. That's going to happen after we get our topics down, and we're going to meet with her. She was on my Rumble live show, and if you're wondering what is that, what is Rumble Live? Well, I say Rumble Live. I also do it on TikTok Live and Rumble Live. Every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, I go ahead and I break down most of the stuff that I cover here on the podcast. And I get to interact with you, the audience. I film almost all this stuff individually, and I do the podcast. I release that normally before the Rumble live show, but Rumble Live every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. We have a great live chat. I'm trying to work on it to where I can get people to come on and discuss with me current world events and just having a good time. That's something new I'm doing. Please go check it out. Also, we're trying something new with the YouTube channel this week and the podcast. I'm going to see what happens with that. Still trying to work out all the bugs, especially with the new name for the show. I'm excited, and I'm ready to go. All right, so let's talk about what happened this week, and several things. I got a few stories, and let's just start off with the biggest one. Let's talk about the big boy press conference. That's right. So Joe Biden had the NATO summit this week, the 75-year NATO summit, and that should have been covering the news. Hey, we got these world leaders that are coming into the United States. They are discussing things that are happening in the world, especially with Ukraine. That should have been the center focus of the media. Was it? No, because of Biden's poor performance in the debate with Donald Trump that happened in June. It's been almost 3 weeks since the debate, and the media is still talking about it. There's buzz going around that Barack Obama is working behind the scenes to get Joe Biden off the campaign trail and give up his nomination. And the way it's looking, they want to give it to Kamala Harris. That's going all over the news, and people are wondering, hey, is Joe fit to be the president of the United States? So while this NATO summit was going on, it's tradition that the president will go ahead and give a press conference after the NATO summit, so the American people could hear from everybody, from the president, to say, hey, NATO's good, this is bad, or Biden eliminate. That's what they would have heard. But everybody was, and they used this opportunity to go ahead and say, listen, American people, watch this highly anticipated press conference, because Biden is going to show that he is the person fit for this nation. And it was let me just say it like this, I almost fell asleep. If it wouldn't have been for corresponding with my wife and then getting asked by Dr. Michael Swartz from the Dr. Michael Swartz show, writer of Fauci's Fiction, calling me and saying, hey, you want to get together? I saw him going live. That's how it was. And he was like, hey, come on. And I was like, yeah, let's go. So I jumped on. Ladies and gentlemen, it was hard to watch. Again, going back to the debate, it was just hard to watch. The first part of the speech, it was close to being flawless because he was reading from a teleprompter. But when the questions came, from the very first question, it was, they asked him a question about, do they think if Kamala Harris was fit to be president of the United States, if something would happen or something of that nature. And he comes out and says, I like Vice President Trump. And I'm like, huh? And even that, they had a picture on X when I was reading it. They took Donald Trump and put him as a woman and said, look, Mrs. Vice President. He started fumbling from there. He didn't get that many tough questions. He did get some foreign questions, foreign aid questions, a lot about if we would step down. And this whole thing turned sideways from the jump. And it wasn't bad enough to where you had an outcry of Democrats. At the time of this recording, we have about 20 or close to 20 that are saying, hey, he needs to step out. You have some people on TikTok that are still saying we're riding with Biden, but majority of the leaders want Joe Biden out. And this press conference didn't ease the concerns, but it didn't ease the concerns, but it's still, the people still have doubts because he made a lot of he had a lot of issues with this press conference, and it does not look good. It does not look good. I think the push still continues for Biden to be pushed out of office. They honestly think there's something going on in the background. George Clooney this week wrote an op-ed in the New York Times and called directly for Joe Biden to step out. And this came at the blessing of Barack Obama. He talked to Barack Obama before he went ahead and sent the op-ed in. And Barack Obama didn't say, stop, this is going to make Joe Biden look bad. No, he just said, hey, go with it. Run with it. Do it. Have fun. Go. Write the op-ed and send it to the New York Times, one of the biggest newspapers in America. And this shows me that they're trying to get Joe Biden out of there. Now, they don't want to get Joe Biden out of the race for the right reasons. I want to tackle this here on the podcast. The reason they want to get rid of Joe Biden is because if they don't get rid of Joe Biden, they lose power. Think about this, okay? A lot of people are saying, well, Joe Biden should step out. He should leave it for the next generation. They're not worried about Joe Biden's health. If they're worried about Joe Biden's health, they wouldn't have encouraged him to run in 2020. They're worried about Joe Biden now because the people of America have seen that Joe Biden has some medical issues. The doctors of the White House might be saying, oh, no, he's fine. But every medical professional that I've talked to gave me opinion about Joe Biden's diagnosis. Now, they cannot say, hey, this is hardcore because they have not examined the patient, but from afar they say, hey, he looks like he has this. Now, they're not worried about his health. They're worried about power. See, the reason they wanted to keep Joe Biden in, and the reason they fought to keep Joe Biden in this race before that debate was because he was a puppet and they had a puppet master, somebody in the back dictating what Joe Biden was going to do. That I believe that is the best analogy, I guess, that you can bring up, or best scenario, that somebody is telling Joe Biden what to do and he's just doing it because he was elected the president of the United States. But that's the reason they wanted Joe Biden in it. But that's the reason now they want Joe Biden out, because they see by the polling that Joe Biden is really losing his race. There was only one poll, if I'm not mistaken, that says that Joe Biden is tied. One poll. Now, Joe Biden can be in denial and say, oh, no, there's several polls that have me in the lead. Also, his family is trying to keep him in there as well because of reasons and all. It's just they don't want Joe Biden in there. They're not worried about his health. They're worried about the power they're going to lose. And I think this is, I want to make sure. I pray for the president. I pray when I think about it, Lord, help this man because he needs a healing. We know the stuff with Israel has happened and all. We understand that, but I see the president, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I want him to step down, not for political reasons, because look, politically, it is great he's in there. Donald Trump can win the election with Joe Biden in there, landslide. I'm just being honest. But as an American, not a Republican, not a Democrat, as an American, I want to see our nation have the best leader possible in there. Now, I know the election's only 6 months away, so I'm not gonna go ahead and say anything about that. Well, we can wait till the vote. But what if something happens in 4 months and we need a leader to rise up to the helm? Do you honestly think Biden is the right leader to do that? Look, I'm gonna have to wash my mouth out with soap, but I honestly think Kamala Harris will make a better president than Joe Biden right now, just because of his condition. Now, will Joe Biden step out with all the calls that he's stepping out? Not according to him. He's saying, hey, I'm staying in here and I'm the nominee. He said that at a rally at the time of this recording. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not stepping down. Now, that is because of pride. That's obvious. Joe Biden either is going to have a lot of legal issues, so he don't want to get out, or he's so full of pride that he won't let himself see what he is doing to his own party. Now, that's a good side, okay? His heart is hardened, so he don't want to leave, and that helps out the Republican Party. And I'm just having issues. I'm having issues with seeing the president of the United States like this. It hurts. It hurts, and I think he should step down for the betterment of our country. That's my opinion. Now, people might say, well, Isaac, you're a Republican, and you're saying that? Yeah, I am. Because, first off, this man is 80, 81, 82. By the time he gets out of there, he's going to be halfway to 90. And it's not, he don't look good. Every time I see him on TV, he don't look good. He has people leading him. He has people telling him what to do. Even in that press conference, he had a list of reporters to talk to. Again, there were none from Fox News on that list. And he still messed it up. Peter Dorsey would have been the only one that really gave him a hard question. Or would have gave him a hard question if they would have asked him. But I don't see President Joe Biden as a healthy individual. I don't. And for the betterment of this country, I wish he would step down. Now, if he don't step down, well, look, let's pray to the good Lord on high that nothing happens in this nation. Let's pray that nothing will happen in this nation where we're going to need the president to step up and be a leader. All right, just a reminder that we're going to have Miss Katherine, let me get her last name, Miss Katherine Makinney, coming on from American POWs on the last section of our podcast. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and discuss a few other things that I want to talk about. The RNC is having their national conference in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, this coming week, and we had the party's platform release a few days ago, and I was really disturbed by something that they're trying to push for this next upcoming election, or rather what they're not pushing in this upcoming election, and that is that they're watering down their pro-life stance. That's how Todd Stearns put it on his article. Again, we got the platforms, and thanks to Josh and John Rosenstern from Insight on Sunlight Broadcasting Network. They did a great job breaking this down, and they went through a few of the things, and I agreed with most of the stance for the Republican Party on their platform that is happening, that they're running on this year. But there was a few things I disagreed with. Well, mainly one thing I disagreed with. And again, that was the pro-life stance. So what they're doing is they're taking more of an approach that Donald Trump has on abortion. And what I mean by that is Donald Trump believes that abortion should not be discussed on the federal level whatsoever. They have asked Donald Trump if they would go ahead, if the Congress would push for a national ban, if it goes to Republicans, would you sign the bill? And Donald Trump said he would not sign the bill because he's happy that the abortion topic is back to the states and not on the federal government. Now, I want to make a point with this. Well, first off, this is the platform that the Republican Party has chosen. They've taken that stance with Donald Trump, and I disagree with that stance, by the way. Now, this is the issue with that stance. Do you honestly think the Democrats will leave it up to the states if the Democrats would get Biden in office and win the House and win the Senate? No, they would pass a law that would bring back the standards of Roe v. Wade. Biden even said it himself in that debate that he believes Roe v. Wade. He wants to implement the standards of Roe v. Wade. That is President Biden's stance on abortion. Most Democrats want that. Most Democrats want abortion rights. And ladies and gentlemen, if they would get the House and the Senate and the presidency, they would put in a law that would legalize abortion nationwide. That means states like my home state of Louisiana could not ban abortions like they have. See, the Democrats would do it. Now the Republicans are, oh no, we're not going to pass this national ban no more. We're not even going to talk about this national ban. We're not. Donald Trump has even taken it a step further and said, look, if it comes to my desk, I'm going to veto it. Why? Congress has the right to make laws. And I understand Donald Trump's stand on it, but I disagree with it. On this point, why did they water it down? Was it to please Trump? Yeah, maybe some way. But I honestly think it was to gain votes and win elections. Since the Dobbs decision, the Republicans have been losing seats. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of them think they're losing seats. Because the Democrats have been pushing that the Republicans are going to take away the reproductive rights of American citizens. Again, I'd like to ask any Democrat, how does terminating a pregnancy count as reproductive rights? Just a question. But since the Dobbs decision, back to what I was saying, Republicans have been losing elections. And they think, well, look, if we can stop losing elections, we can get in there and push out our agenda. So we think abortion's that, we're going to ease up on our stance on that. And they're wrong. They're wrong. I'm gonna go to my grave saying it. The Republican Party is wrong by watering down their stance on abortion. They need to fight for life. They need to fight for life for these young children. They need to fight for the unborn. They need to continue their stance and say, look, we're against abortion. Now, I know there's a lot of people that watch this show or hear this show. They have the stance that, well, what if certain circumstances happen? I think life is precious. God has given us life. God told Jeremiah he knew him before he was in his mother's womb, and God is omnipresent, so he's everywhere, and he knows the future, he knows the past, he knows who you are. And God has, unfortunately, God has a plan, and humans mess it up. But ladies and gentlemen, this stance on abortion, Republicans need to say, no, we want to pass a national ban. And again, we know that this is a topic that the Democrats are using. But the thing of it is, if you ease up on your stance, the Democrats are not going to stop it. Okay, it's the same thing with this Project 2025 thing. Donald Trump says, I'm not part of it. And now look, don't get me wrong. Donald Trump had some involvement with Heritage Foundation and all that, so you can have that debate. But Donald Trump said, look, I'm not I'm not, I wasn't aware of it or whatever he said, but the Democrats are still saying it's Trump Project 2025. So, look, Donald Trump, they could not be no proof that Donald Trump was part of Heritage Foundation, he said, but they're still going to put it because that's the only thing they have. Ben Shapiro went on Capitol Hill the other day, and Eric Stallwell, that's all he was asking Ben Shapiro was about Project 2025. The Democrats are not going to stop. You can ease up your stance on abortion, but the Democrats are still going to push and say, "Hey, you're against abortion. You're not for women's rights. You're not for this. You're not." They're going to look. How many Republicans have to go on television and say, "Hey, we're not racist," until the Democrats stop saying that Republicans are racist? It's never going to happen. They're going to keep saying Republicans are sexist when most of our Congress leaders are women. I'm just making a point. It's not going to stop. So for them to say, well, we're going to win elections or we're going to do that, have all this, it's not going to stop. And they need to keep pushing. Also, this week, the SAVE Act was passed through the House, went to the Senate, and died. Was the SAVE Act? Well, it is this law is to say that you have to show citizenship before you register to vote. Now, the law right now is in the United States that you have to be a citizen of the United States to vote in the upcoming election when you get your ID or your government assistance. You know, when you go to the government, when you go get your government assistance or your license, they ask if you want to register to vote, and you can register to vote. And there's a little box that said, "Are you a citizen of the United States?" And the Republicans believe that most illegal immigrants are going to put yes, that they were citizens, and that means they can get the right to vote in this country. And they wanted the Republicans just wanted people to verify they're a citizen. You got to be a United States citizen to vote, but there's no verification process to show you're a United States citizen, which, in my opinion, is a good act. Now, sir, I think it was 5 Democrats that voted for it, but 198 Democrats voted against this. Now, give you a Christian perspective on this. You should obey the law. That's something that Christians try to abide by. Hey, abide to try to follow the law as best as possible. And ladies and gentlemen, these people are coming across the border. They're not obeying the law, and this is making our country weak. And for the Democrats to say, "Hey, we don't want them to be verified." What's behind all this? Let's just say it like that. I'm gonna leave it up to the listener to form their own opinion. But there's a reason why the Democrats are against this. That every American citizen should. Hey, yeah, let's try to prove that they're a United States citizen before. That's the law. And see, that's another thing too. The Democrats would say, well, there's already a law saying that you have to be a United States citizen. It's not about being a United States citizen. The law is to show that you are a United States citizen. That's a big difference. But the Democrats shot it down. Why? You just have to ask that question. Why? Why shoot it down? You know, it's the same question. Why did they allow almost 16 million illegal immigrants to come across this nation and send them off everywhere? Just saying. All right. I have 2 news stories, and then we're gonna go ahead and play the interview with Miss Katherine in a few minutes from American POW. A middle school principal is punished for praying. This is from Todd Stearns, and I talked about this in a video that I'm going to publish on YouTube. And a principal at Battle Creek Middle School in Spring Hills reported encouraging 8th graders to read the Bible, calling the book a good guide for life. He also led the students in prayer. What's wrong? A lot of people say, what's wrong with that? Well, this was done at a graduation, and apparently, according to the Freedom from Religious Foundation, said that there was a non-Christian family there. And they objected to the prayer and filed a complaint. And it's funny how they filed a complaint with the Freedom from Religious Foundation. They didn't, to my knowledge, they didn't go to the school. It's not clear on the article. but they went to the Freedom from Religious Foundation, and the Freedom from Religious Foundation sent a letter to the school, and they went ahead and said, we are told that at the end of the ceremony, principal read several Bible verses as part of his closing remarks and stated that he regularly reads the Bible to students and recommends that students read the Bible as a good guide for their life. The FFR said in a letter to the Murray County School District. Our complaints further reports that the principal then closed the ceremony with an explicitly Christian prayer. He probably said in the name of Jesus. So from the remarks, it sounds like this non-Christian family reported to the Freedom from Religious Foundation. The FFRF says before giving the prayer, the principal stated that he was honored to be the principal, but that he was still going to pray. And they make a few other statements. They say their legal counsel, whatever, said it makes no difference how many students want prayer or would not be offended by the prayer at their graduation ceremony. Courts have continually reaffirmed that the rights of the minorities are none less protected by the Constitution. So basically what he's saying, hey, because you hear all this all the time, the majority rules until it comes to Christianity. The majority of the people did not have a problem with this prayer. It was one family. One family had the problem. Just one family. And now this principal is being punished. The organization all said students have the constitutional right to be free from religious indoctrination in public school. I'm going to stop right there. And if I was talking to this person, he mentioned that, I would say, hold on. They have the right to be free from religious indoctrination. So we can't teach that there's no God in school either. Or we can't teach that there's no God in the universe. We can't teach evolution because they say God isn't there. And they would say, well, no, that's scientific. No, that's a religion. Because the way they're talking is they hate God. Religious indoctrination. This is all the Freedom from Religious Foundation is, by the way. This is the same organization that said they should take down a statue of Billy Graham in our Capitol because he was a Christian nationalist. And all Billy Graham did was preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. They also said if the district turns a blind eye to the overseed popularity by its staff or its property, it becomes complaints to an ingracious constitution violation, and breach of trust. And the atheist organization said, now the superintendent said he did an investigation. He talked with the principal, and he determined that the principal did violate school policy and told him never to do that again. Don't preach, don't teach. And my stance would be that I would tell, if I was the principal, I would say, well, look, fire me. Fire me. I'll collect the check. And I thought I seen that he was fired, but I got this from Todd Stearns. It said he was punished. Now, think about this. The principal was reading Bible verses and telling them to live a good life that the Bible points out. And the Freedom from Religious Foundation had a problem with that. What was their problem? Well, their problem was that it promoted God. It gave God in a good light. It made God a person that loves and a God that shows you good character. And see, the Freedom from Religious Foundation are an atheistic group, and they know there's a God, but they don't want to admit they're a God, so they fight God by saying there is no God. And they don't want it in school. If you would have heard my last podcast, I brought this out with the Ten Commandments in Oklahoma. I know it was an old story, but this is why they don't want Oklahoma and Louisiana pushing the Ten Commandments in the Bible. And look, like I said, what's wrong with the principles of thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor your father and mother. There's nothing wrong with that. But they're fighting tooth and nail all because of pastor prayed. Now we have to ask the question too: Did the principal and them people that didn't mind had rights? Because that's another thing too. Remember the football coach that was fired because he prayed with his students All of a sudden, he went to the Supreme Court and won. Well, not all of a sudden. It took years to battle, but got his job back and won the case. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as a Christian, you have rights in school as well. You know, kids do have right to carry a Bible in school. A lot of people don't know that. But you can bring your Bible to school. You can read your Bible in school. You can pray in school. They're asking for no corporate prayer, and even that's debatable what the Supreme Court did back in the 70s. I think the 70s, maybe the late 60s. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is how far our country has come, that we're punishing middle school teachers or principals all for praying. All right, I got one more opinion I want to give. Then we're going to get with Miss Katherine. We're going to play her interview that I had her on the Rumble live show Saturday. Go ahead and check out the live show as well. If you want to be part of the conversation and go join in the chats, go check me out on TikTok as well. So there was a viral moment a while back. I say a while back, a couple of weeks, of an individual named Holly Welch. Now, a lot of people might say, Holly Welch, who's that? A lot of people that listen to this might not know who she is, but I got Snapchat and I've got other social media accounts. And I seen this and I didn't know what it was until I looked into it. But this young lady hanging out, having fun, and a content creator, I don't even know who the content creator was, went out on the streets, and you see this every so often. People go out on the streets and they ask individuals questions, and these videos go viral because of some response that people give. And she was asked a inappropriate question about intercourse, and she responded with a very improper joke. Not improper joke. I just said the word and I can't remember it. Inappropriate. Thank you. Inappropriate joke. And it went viral. Well, what did she say, Isaac? Well, we're not going to go into contact what she said to do, but the words ring out Hawk Tuah. That was a part of her response, and it went viral. Now, I said this earlier. I can't believe I have to give you an opinion on this, but a while back, I was on Snapchat. I was on, I think it was TikTok, and every so often, a video would come and talk about Holly Welch. Even to the point now where I've got the report today that they're trying to make a reality TV show. All because she had 15 minutes of fame. Now, I'm not against her having 15 minutes of fame. I'm not against her capitalizing on her success. It's nothing to do with this. I'm more worried about the nation. The nation is focusing on this young lady because her video went viral, and now mainstream media and multiple outlets, they're pushing for her to have her own reality TV show. And she's making money off of this stuff. Look, like I said, I'm not against her capitalizing. They made hats and everything, and I think it's part of her merch. And she might not be a millionaire right now, but she's on track to be a millionaire. And it was, look, by luck that she did this, or not by luck. She went ahead and made the statement, but it caught fire, and guess what? Now she's sought after. Now we know with the context. I was talking to a coworker, and he made this point out too. It was pointing to sexuality, so that's why it caught fire. Everything's sexualized now. People they're not focused on things that matter. And I'm going to be honest with you. It is sad. You can go to a college campus right now and ask them college students, who is the Hawk Tuah girl? And they probably will mention her name and tell you everything about her. You ask them, well, who is the senator of your state? Who is your congressman? Who is your state representatives? Who your state senators? And who is your Secretary of Treasury? And all this stuff. And they probably be like, they won't know. You can ask them, and I've seen videos like this. You can ask them simple history, and they will not know. Now, we know if you fail to learn from your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Now, like I said, look, I'm not against this young lady getting popularity and being famous and all this stuff. I broke it down a lot more in a video that's going to be aired on YouTube later in the week. But it just bothers me that senseless, no-brainers, videos and stuff like that, stuff that doesn't really benefit people, go viral like that. And look, I'm not the only content creator that tries to edify and try to educate and to spiritually build up people. There are several shows that I'm associated with that try to educate people to better themselves. And it takes forever for that to catch fire or to catch the viral trend. But you have a young lady that says Hawk Tuah in response to a inappropriate question. And they go viral. And and look, like I said, look, it ain't her. She was not planning on doing it. I don't know if she was looking for a career in social media. But people liked it. People, and look, don't get me wrong. For the first time, look, it's a joke, haha. And look, even going viral, look, like 15 minutes of fame, okay? If she got 15 minutes of fame, great. But the thing of it is, she said this, and now people are trying to give her reality shows. She went to a famous person's concert. She got on stage, and she's looked up as this, I guess you could say, this role model. And she's making decisions. Look, laugh, haha, go scroll up. That should have been the end of it, to be honest with you. But people are starting to push her into doing all kind of stuff. And look, there's money involved. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying. America needs to start focusing on the stuff that matters. And people might watch this or hear this and say, "Well, Isaac, you're just jealous." No, I'm not. I'm not jealous. Look, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind this video or this podcast reach 1 million viewers and get 1 million likes and get 1 million follows and go viral. I wouldn't mind that. That would help me out tremendously. But it bothers me that stuff like that go viral. And look, I've been feeling that for a while. There's certain content creators that all they do is, I'm gonna be blunt, show off their body or do something that does not make any sense, and they get all these viewers, they get all these hits, they get all. And I understand, like, the point with that they're sexualizing it so they can go ahead and get money or whatever. But it just goes to the point that that's what America has come to. Senseless, I'm not gonna say non-brainers, but I'm just trying to say it right to where y'all won't think, well, no. I just don't understand our society. I really don't. I just don't understand our society, where things that will not matter in a couple of years, yes, but things that will not contribute to anything in society will not. It just, I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and play our interview that we took on the Rumble Live show with Miss Katherine Makinney. She's the founder of American POWs.com, and she's going to be here talking to us about the weaponization of the Justice Department and some things that happened on January 6th. Katherine, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So you reached out to us a couple of weeks ago, and you said you heard the show, and you are heavily involved with people that were involved with January 6th. And I have a lot of listeners that are on that have been part of January 6th. They didn't go into the Capitol, but I know a lot of people that were outside. But there's a lot of things that are going on with January 6th, and people just don't know about.
Right, exactly.
So your website is americanspow.com. Tell us a little bit about your website and why did you go ahead and create this website?
Well, I've been disturbed by the weaponization of our justice system. One of the things that sets the United States apart from other countries is rule of law. In other words, justice is supposed to be blind, regardless of your gender, skin color, ideology, what have you. You will be treated the same in our justice system. That is no longer true, and January 6th is a very great example. And so it's very alarming. I was praying about it. I was disturbed by what's happening to these people, and this idea came to me that I think a lot of people feel very, very concerned about it, but there's not much we can do. So the idea is that we can't change the justice system, but we can change the justice system for one person. In other words, if you adopt a J6er, and you can do that through my website, you can just buy a POW bracelet. You get someone randomly, or you can go through the website and read the stories and pick someone on your own. But then that person, there's a card that comes with it. It's an address, their particular needs, whether they have Give, Send, Go account, or what they're struggling with, what they might need prayer with, or you can advocate for them as well. We need to put pressure on, particularly our congressmen. So that's the gist of it. People have told me they get very connected with these people because they were just patriots. They were people that loved America, that went to the Capitol to express a grievance. And there were FBI agents in the crowd. There were the Capitol Police violated DC law and started basically attacking them. So there was a melee, and there's a lot of different stories about what exactly happened at the Capitol, but you do have footage of the Capitol Police letting people in. And so to prosecute these people with 4 to 22 years is just very disturbing.
And that's what I was going to ask, because a lot of people ask me my view on January 6th, and I tell them, look, I don't think people should have went into the Capitol the way they did. We know they had some insiders in there. We know we had some people that were promoting violence, and that part was wrong. But I do agree with you on the sentences that, these people were getting maximum punishment for, misdemeanor acts. And look, January 6th was horrible in my opinion. I think it hurt us more than anything. But, your website says you've read 240 stories alone of individuals. And look, I have a good friend that I've introduced you to them called Two Mics Live, Mike Calderese. Mike Calderese was there in the crowd, but he didn't go to the Capitol. And Mike, if you're watching, you can go ahead and comment. But there were several people that went there because, like you said, they were patriotic. They thought something happened on election day, and they wanted something there. They wanted to go ahead and just tell Congress, hey, we think you should look into this. And unfortunately, the bad overlooked all the good that was there.
Yeah, but there have been other protests, riots, what have you, such as the year before, BLM had burned a federal building,
right
across the street, and those people, most of them were released without any charges. So again, if you're on the left, a lot is okay. You can break the law with impunity, but if you're on the right, particularly in DC, don't jaywalk. Don't jaywalk. You know, so yeah, and you're correct. What the DOJ is doing is something called stacking. It's not just trespassing charge. It's a disorderly charge. It's disorderly in public. They stack these charges, and then they were grabbing a felony count from a financial crime statute for to make a felony destruction of evidence of documents while a investigation is going on. That's essentially what statute 1512C2 was. And they just pulled it, never been used this way before, twisted it, and took the obstruction charge so that they had a felony, and that enabled them then to upgrade misdemeanors so that it could maximize sentences. The whole goal is very punitive. It's punishing people for being Trump supporters.
And that's what I'm about to say. They just did the same thing they did to Donald Trump because, especially with the Alvin Bragg case, and this was a misdemeanor at the most. And Alvin Bragg just went ahead and upped the charges to where it couldn't pass the statute of limitation, and it was a felony, so they can say, hey, he's a convicted felon. And I agree with you on the double standard. I don't know if you saw the episode last week, but I quoted the scripture that said a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And I said, you can just use double-minded and change man to country, political party, whatever. And I see this in our Justice Department. You're right. If you are part of the right way of the aisle, unfortunately, you are outcast. You are, you're sent to the maximum sentence. While the left, like you said, B&M riots were going on, you had CNN in the back saying, hey, this is a mostly peaceful protest and a building's burning down. And these people are walking away scot-free with misdemeanors. And what is funny is you talked about the federal building. I remember, I think it was CNN that said it. They was like, well, the reason he didn't get the maximum sentence because he did it at night and nobody was harmed. I thought arson was arson, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that there were 5 people that died that day, and they were all Trump supporters.
Right.
The myth and I would say the lie that J6ers killed police officers is completely untrue. It's just.
And it's been proven. It's been proven is wrong in Congress. It's been proven wrong in multiple areas. Now we have some. We're on live right now with Rumble and on TikTok. If you can, live audience, please share the live streams so we can get more people in here. This is a fascinating interview. One of my listeners on TikTok, Mr. John Reed, said the Democrats are pushing a black supermajority agenda with white guilt. Do you agree with that statement?
I'm not exactly sure what he means in regards to January 6th. I'm not.
Yeah.
Can you clarify?
Well, I think what he's talking about here, and John, if you can, please clarify a little bit, if you can. I think what he's talking about is, could we compare January 6th to Black Lives Matter? And the Black Lives Matter folks get off scot-free. And most of the people that were at January 6th is white folk. So, I think that's what he's trying to make the comparison to right there.
What's interesting is there were a lot of Black and Hispanics that were caught up in it and have been prosecuted. So their crime really is that they were Trump supporters.
Right, and that's. I think you can take out the race part right there and just say, hey, if you're a Republican, especially if you're a African American Republican, you're in trouble more because you have a lot of stuff. Also, we're getting 500 likes right now on TikTok. Please, TikTok, keep liking it. It gets more people into the live. Also, to my audience that are on Rumble, we have Mike Calderese on the. Excuse me, I can't talk this morning on the Rumble live. And Mike went ahead and said was definitely not all white at January 6th. And we know Mike Calderese was there. Right. So after January 6th, we had the fallout of everything that happened that day. Again, we started seeing prosecutions of people that were unfortunately going to jail and stuff like that. Have you met any of these individuals that have went to jail?
Yeah, no, I've spoken to them. I
Okay.
haven't met them in person, but I've spoken to them over the phone. And the goal is to devastate them, to destroy their lives. And um, the Christians tend to fare up much better because they have hope and they can lean on Him. But I'll tell you, there's been 2 suicides already. They're very good
Wow.
at destroying people's lives. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's sad that like you said, justice is supposed to be blind, but you see the double standard, especially of January 6th and everyone else that was involved in that. Especially, like I said, look what they're doing to Donald Trump right now. You have people getting away scot free, and poor Donald Trump. He now the cases are kind of getting thrown out because of the Supreme Court case, but it's just sad, that especially Christians on our end. Look, we have people that were going to an abortion clinic and just hang out and chill, and they were worshiping, and now they're in federal prison because of Biden's overreach of the Justice Department.
yep, yeah, yeah. That's why I didn't call it anything to do with J6 because unfortunately I don't think it's limited to J6.
Okay.
They're doing that to abortion people praying in front of abortion clinics, basically political enemies. That's if they can. And by the way, they are very good at. Old Stalin used to say, "Show me the man, I'll find the crime."
Right.
Right, and that's they. It doesn't matter really. I mean, people need to be concerned about it because they're not necessarily safe because they're quote unquote obeying the law. They put Dinesh D'Souza in prison.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was
So,
before Biden. That was during the Obama administration.
oh, I think the weaponization of our agencies is an Obama idea.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
It
you see
started there.
Obama. He's holding a lot of the cards right now. He's holding a lot of the
Hmm.
cards, and because the George Clooney interview with his op-ed with New York Times this week shows it. He called Obama and asked him, "Hey, is it okay for me to do this?" And Obama's like, "Do whatever you want." That was kind of like Obama's blessing, and Obama used the IRS against conservative groups. And
Yes,
like you
he
said,
did.
it's sad that we come to a point in our government that we're like this, and it's sad.
Right. They're using the IRS also if you're a conservative and you're outspoken and they don't like the they use the IRS to audit you. Most, I mean, most people I know, most patriots I know that are well known have gotten audited.
And it's sad. Now I got a question because you mentioned it earlier. You don't singleize this to January 6th. You talk about all American POWs. So your goal with this website is to just not talk about January 6th. It's talking about everyone that has been involved with some way, shape, or form with this Department of Justice that is using their double standard to shut up people.
Yeah. So look at Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, and of course, I think they would love to imprison Trump. But so the thing is, those people have resources and they have a platform,
Right.
and most of the J6ers do not. So they're much more vulnerable. They're also being, I would call it tortured. They're being tortured in these prisons. Medical care is withheld. Some of them are being beaten. Their calories are restricted. Their medical care is restricted. Their visitation rights are. So they're being treated in a way that's in violation of the Geneva Convention. We would treat our prisoners of war over in Iraq or Afghanistan better than these J6ers are being treated.
And it's sad. It's sad that these are all American citizens, correct?
Yes, yep, all American citizens. Most of them had no prior record. They're good citizens. They just want to enjoy their family, do barbecue on weekends. They're firemen and police officers. In fact, interestingly enough, 72% of them were either vets or former law enforcement.
Yeah, and
So,
that's sad. That's sad that their lives have been ruined. And look, I'm not, like I said, we're not gonna deny the fact that was a mistake that a lot of them went into the Capitol, but it wasn't worth prison time like this, And I guess it's because yeah, the Justice Department is gonna say, well, this was insurrection and all this stuff. If I'm not mistaken, not one of these individuals were charged with insurrection.
no, they weren't because it wouldn't stick. Because I don't remember an insurrection in history where people came without weapons.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, no weapons whatsoever, and they are, it's that again, for my audience that are watching on TikTok and Rumble, please like the show, please share the show with your friends, start getting into the comments. We have a ton of comments coming through our live stream right now on TikTok. There's some that are saying that we're spreading conspiracy. One person just said people were charged with having weapons like guns at January 6th. So, but I don't know if this person is just misinformed or what, but there was no weapons. The only weapons they had was Capitol Police.
No, they were said to have weapons. So a couple of them were police officers, and they had brought their batons.
Okay.
So that is theoretically a weapon.
Okay, yeah.
But the weapons that the DOJ, when they said assault, they were flags. They were flagpoles, or in some cases, because the police were using their shields to push against them, people took the shields and were using that to push back. They shouldn't have done any of that, but that's what happens a lot of times in protests. And again, when the left does it, it's understandable.
I got you.
When the right does it, they'll put you away for as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the double standard. You have people throwing Mariel cocktails, I think it's called, into windows for BLM. And a lot of people, I'm probably gonna raise some red flags here on TikTok and whatnot. There was people that rushed the White House and they had to put Trump in a bunker. And
that was the BLM protest.
Yeah, and they don't call that an insurrection. But
what the DOJ was trying to do with this was to label it an insurrection, because the goal of it, really, the prosecute J6, certainly, I don't know if Pelosi planned it, but she certainly threw a lot of fuel on it. It enabled Nancy Pelosi to shut down any dissent about the certification in Congress that day. But it also, they really tried hard to create this insurrection and pin it on Trump so that they could, pull the insurrection clause and prevent him from running again. Both those things, I think, have failed, except for crushing these people that were in the wrong place at the wrong time, made a couple bad choices. But if they were tried back at their home jurisdiction, like Oklahoma or Louisiana or wherever, they would have maybe gotten 6 months probation.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel the Justice Department has used that to they have used them as an example, because like you said, some of these people don't have resources. They have a lawyer that's saying, look, just take the plea deal, go spend a couple of months in jail, and your life's going to be fine. But now you're labeled as a felon, or you're labeled as somebody that, unfortunately has a criminal record now. Right,
exactly.
Now, again, go ahead.
No, again, they're trying to destroy these people, and many of them. I mean, I talked to a fellow, Larry Brock. He's still in a halfway house, but they just devastated him. He was a pilot, lost his license. Hopefully, the 1512 decision by the Supreme Court will enable him to get the felony wiped and get his license back, but who knows?
Who knows, right? So Mike Calderese made a comment on Rumble. He said the pipe bomb was planted near the cops and Secret Service right outside the DNC. There was a few things happening that day. For the last 3.5 years, we heard that this was all Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump led this insurrection. But now we got video footage of Nancy Pelosi saying, look, I'll take the blame for it. I should have got this. And even Democrats that probably on my TikTok are telling me, oh, that ain't true. But I've seen the video footage. It's on Rumble and many other platforms.
Yeah, exactly. She's admitting that she should have asked for more support. Trump maintains that he did ask for more he asked for National Guard beforehand. But he asked for it at the time of, too. And there's a general colleague, Kellogg, that has testified he was with him. He asked for National Guard that day. And the chief of police, who was fired, the chief of Capitol Police said, I asked for backup and had to wait 70 minutes. 70 minutes.
Wow.
So the police were overwhelmed because if you look at the video, there's just not enough police for that number of people to hold them back.
So we have a comment on TikTok. Someone is named Cranky. Said the president is the only one who has the authority over the National Guard of DC. If he asked for the National Guard, it would have been there. But it's already been proven, Cranky, that that the Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of DC had to approve that as well. Donald Trump told them, hey, you can have them, but they declined not to do. That has been proven multiple times.
Yeah, and he also asked for National Guard day of. But again, there's jurisdictions. He can override the will of a governor and a mayor or who else? City council. But it has to be an emergency. It's really not okay for the president to order National Guard into your city. No. So that's why you saw in certain jurisdictions during the BLM riots, they had National Guard backup because they said yes. And the really woke cities like Portland and Seattle didn't want any extra police because they wanted what happened to happen.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think there was a lot of things going on January 6th, and unfortunately, the January 6th committee didn't help out anything either because their whole target was not to find out the truth. Their whole target was to go after Donald Trump. Now Mike Calderese went ahead and quoted on Rumble again. He said, again, not true. The president doesn't have power of state, National Guard. The police chief asked Pelosi a number of times. So Mike Calderese, who was on January 6th, he was there and he talked about this as well. And on his show, Two Mics Live, go check it out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 7 Eastern Standard Time. They he talked a lot about it on January 6th. And going back to the people though, how many people were affected by that day? You talked about it in your website. You have a section right here of POW stories. I have your website pulled up, and the stories that are on this website, like you said, it's heartbreaking. You don't hear, you hear about Donald Trump, you hear about Michael Flynn, you hear about all these other people that were unjustly prosecuted, Steve Bannon and all this, but all these stories on your website, you give these people a platform.
Right. And tell their story from their perspective, because if you Google any of these people's names with the term J6, what you'll get is all this horribly negative press that they were insurrectionists and they were violent and crazy, and it's just not true. It's just not true. So I'm telling their story from their perspective as good as I could, because the stories on my website are of folks that are in prison. They're in prison, so I can't. It's hard for me to get feedback from them. And then their family is very wary of the press because the press has been so abusive. So I contact them. Anyway, I haven't been able to get feedback from the family either.
So I got a question. You talked about the media, and I'm not trying to puff us up. I'm not trying to puff up conservative small podcasters like myself and Two Mics Live and Scott Ford and all of these people. But do you think this is why we should go ahead and make shows on Rumble, YouTube, TikTok, so we can get the word out there, even with people, Miss Cranky or Mr. Cranky. I don't know if it's a Mr. or a Mrs. But you join our live stream and you join the conversation. I wish we can get more comments in, but you can have a conversation with people and you can get the word out. Yeah,
absolutely. I think the reason why the left and the ideology behind Obama and now Biden is Marxism. I mean, it is. It's Marxism. And the idea of Marxism, the last couple places that have gone Marxist, such as China, Russia, Cuba, they have to restrict the information so that people don't really know what's going on. And our government has done that to some extent. But the independent media is where it's at. Those are the people that are growing in audiences. So they're not able to really restrict information. And of course, Elon buying Twitter just exploded the concept and the ability to have true free speech in a public square. But I think what we have as it's a gift is all the independent podcasters like yourself that you don't reach 30 million people in a pop, but you reach enough people that you can make a difference.
Well, and like I said, this is why. And look, I know to throw their name out there, and Mike Calderese, he could back me up on this. This is why we encourage people just not to listen to myself, but to Mike's Live, to Scott Ford, my friends Culprit Canteen Cup that are on YouTube. And look, Mike knows a lot of other podcasters. We all bond together. We all team up. Mike, you might know, because if you're on the live, you can put Fuel with Fire, I think it is. There's a lot of other podcasts out there, and like you said, yeah, we don't reach 30,000 people or 30 million people at one time. But if you think about it, 5 or 6 podcasters all broadcast and have you on, guess what? We're going to reach a lot of people.
Right. And I want Americans to be set straight about J6. And to do what Americans did during the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a pointless war, and there were tons of people protesting it. America was for the most for it because we'd been told it was necessary to fight communism. It wasn't. It was a civil war. And the Defense Department head at the time, McNamara, came out later, and he felt very guilty before he died. He said it was a big mistake, and he admitted it was horrible. So what could people do? Well, a bunch of college students got together and made POW bracelets. And people were wearing POW bracelets. Now, we didn't have the internet, so we didn't know who these people were.
Right.
You just got a name and a number, and that was the person you prayed for and cared for. So until they returned or the remains returned. And it was quite successful because it raised awareness quite a bit that what we were doing probably wasn't the right thing, and a lot of people were suffering. And so it's the same now. What the DOJ is doing is not right. A lot of people are suffering, and the more light is shed on it, look at Biden's mental capacity. The more light that is shed on something, it just falls apart in the light of day when a lot of people know about what's going on. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. John Reed, someone that's on the TikTok live, said, "I'm enjoying this podcast. Thank you for doing this. We are proud to do it, my friend. We are proud to do. Miss Catherine, I know you're happy to do it. And we are at, and John brought this out earlier, 3.9 thousand likes on this podcast so far. And please share the show if you like the show. Also on Rumble. I Come With Fire. That was the name of the other podcast. Thank you, Mike Calderese, that is in the Rumble Live. So Miss Catherine, tell us how people can go ahead and get in contact with your website, and tell them, what is your end goal for everything that your website is promoting.
So it's AmericanPOWs.com. The goal is to raise awareness and get these people released. You can buy a bracelet. You can buy a bracelet for a friend, and you can wear it. And it's also a statement. It says, I don't agree with what they're doing with the J6ers. It makes a statement. But you can also then make a difference in one person's life. Writing them, I mean, they're, like I said, they're in prison. They're not being treated well at all. And it's just a little form of blessing and light on their life. So, and I think knowing that people are outside and advocating for you makes all the difference in the world.
Yes, ma'am. And in that point too, you may have your different beliefs of what happened on January 6th, but again, these are American citizens that are fighting to stay free in America, and they need support, they need help. And like you said, we're not going to disagree that this was a bad choice. By some people, they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. But, hey, give them justice, the right justice, like you said, a misdemeanor or probation or something, not 5 years, 6 years in jail, unfortunately.
Right. And then the DOJ does things that, like I said, would be violations of the Geneva Convention. The Geneva Convention is an agreement that we signed on to. The U.S. did on how to treat prisoners of war. And like I said, these people are not being treated with that same standard at all. One of the things they do is called diesel therapy, where if you're a problem, they will transfer you to another prison on this diesel bus, because they call it diesel therapy because the fumes are really noxious.
Right.
But you go to this other prison and they'll beat you a day or so there. Then you go to another prison. You're transferred to another prison, and then you're beaten there. And so there's things like that they do that are cruel, inhumane, and the guards, for example, in the DC Gulag, mostly black, they're told that these white, mostly men, are white supremacists.
Wow.
And so they get beaten. One guy lost his sight temporarily. Another fellow lost teeth. There have been broken bones. It's bad. You can read the stories on my website, and they'll give you a picture of what they did with Larry Brock. Larry Brock had served in two tours of Afghanistan and Iraq, and he was fighting terrorists. He was an Air Force pilot. He was fighting terrorists. So what does the prison that he went to do? They place him in a cell with an Al-Qaeda terrorist.
Miss Catherine, we have a question from you from Calder Reese. He said, what is the meaning of the upside down flag behind you?
So an upside down flag universally means it's a sign of distress. I need help. And so I feel like what is happening in terms of the weaponization of our justice system is a distress signal. It's a terrible thing. I wish people understood, like, the reason why the United States is so special and unique is because we had rule of law and equal scales of justice. We lose that, we're going to slip into a place that's not unlike, it doesn't differentiate us from third world countries.
Yeah, and it's sad that we got to that point. I want to thank Megan for sending us some heart puffs. Thank you. Appreciate it. And we also have a listener that said, look, I'm new to this live, but love the message. Thank you for getting it out there. So we got a lot of people that are probably going to look at your website right now from TikTok. So, keep going, look at it. AmericanPOWs.com. Miss Catherine is the founder of that website, and she's doing a great work out there. And Miss Catherine, I don't know how much time you have left, but once again, tell people where to, tell them about the website, because we want to get this message out. People need help.
And they can reach me also.
Okay.
They can email me at km@americanpows.com. If they have questions or they want more information. But you could spend a lot of time reading all those stories on the website. We tried to keep them short, but some of them, the extenuating circumstances. I mean, one fellow lost he was in the process of adopting a child, lost the adoption,
wow.
and then his wife divorced him.
Man.
Another guy was turned in by his son. Was turned in to the FBI by his son. So, and now he's serving 5 or 6 years in prison. These stories are very disturbing.
That scripture that story remind me of the scripture. Remember, they said sons and daughters or relatives are going to turn you in. Now we know that was for the gospel's sake. It wasn't for a political agenda, but it just reminded me of that because somebody turning in their own father. I understand for a true crime. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to endorse crimes or whatever. But and then Mike Calderese went ahead and comment on this. He said, and that kid is bragging about it. So what is the disturbing image that we're getting in America that kids are turning? They do that in third world nations in communistic countries.
Right. Well, they're demonizing the current regime and their PR firms, which are mainstream media, which are extensions of the DNC, essentially. They are creating a narrative, and they're good at creating narratives. But I always urge people to look at those narratives because it's almost all lies, right? We were told the vaccine was safe and effective, and that the vaccine prevented infection and transmission. None of that's true. But in any case, the narrative that they're creating that is working on a large segment of the population is that J6 was this violent insurrection, and these people deserve to spend a decade in prison. And those are lies. They're lies.
Right. Well, Ms. Katherine, I want to thank you for coming on today. We got other topics we're going to go ahead and dive into. But, again, you can reach you at kmamericanpows.com. They go look at the website, American POWs. I'm seeing some of the bracelets right now. They look awesome. And, bracelets are a good way to get the message out. I used to wear like 5 of them on my wrist, and unfortunately they all broke. But, when I used to wear them, people would ask, well, what's your bracelet stand for? And I can explain to them. So bracelets do stick out. People see it and they look at it, and it's a good way to get a message out there. And I encourage all my listeners, everyone that's on Rumble and on TikTok right now, go ahead and check it out. And somebody on TikTok just said, God bless you, Kim. So they, keep doing the good work of patriotism and, of the faith, and just keep doing what you're doing. I think you're doing a great work, and we will probably have you on later on down the road if you want to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know if you like talking to this Cajun conservative right here. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I loved it. I've loved it.
So where you're located in Oklahoma, you said earlier?
No. I'm living in Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee.
Franklin.
Okay. You did say that in your email. I apologize. But I'm just saying, you like the accent. I'm messing. I got that Cajun accent, people say.
You do. It's great. I love it.
Well, Miss Katherine, you have a good day, and thank you again for joining us. And please, everybody, go check out the website at AmericanPOWs.com, and go support this great work.
Thank you so much.
No problem, Miss Kim. All right, everybody, that was a interview with Miss Katherine Makinney from American POWs. A great interview. Please go ahead and check out her website, American POWs, and hear the stories that she talked about and help them. Buy a bracelet and go ahead and check them out. It'll be greatly appreciated. With that note, please go ahead and like the podcast. Go check out our YouTube page, our Rumble page. Our podcasts are on there, also with other videos of topics that I deal with throughout the week. You can go ahead and check us out on our website at isaachayesshow.wordpress.com. We go ahead and put all the newest episodes on that. With that being said, it's going to end this episode of the Isaac Hayes Show. Glad that you got a chance to join us today. Go check out all our partners in the bottom of the description. We love you guys. Be blessed. Be encouraged. You have a good week.